And oftentimes where the masking comes into play is that if I'm just meeting somebody and I don't know them and they're telling me a thing, if somebody has ill intentions, they're not really going to be honest about the fact that they were terrible people. They're probably going to lie. So like, I just want to know what part in it we see the pattern, or is it what they say?
If someone shows you who they are 3 times, why do people still wait for the 4th time? Like, how many times are you going to give people a chance over and over?
It's really not the potential you see in that person. I just think it's just the love that you have for that person.
Who here has dated potential and ignored patterns?
I think we all have, to be honest.
No? You said no? Okay, Mommy 3 said no. Who has dated potential and ignored patterns? Are we being honest here? Or?
I definitely have.
What did you call it when you ignored the pattern?
Yeah. Optimism.
What about you, Ella? Faith?
Faith, just a hope in the person's potential, seeing what they could be. You know what I'm saying? Speak what they say in the Bible. They speak to things that are not as though they were, faith of a mustard seed, you know what I'm saying? Can move mountains, but unfortunately can't move emotions.
Okay.
Maturity.
Go ahead, Bo. What did you call it when you ignored the pattern?
My fault for being delusional.
Okay. What is the worst pattern you accepted because you were attractive? Because they were attractive? Go ahead, Mom.
Just being stigmatized. I ignored it.
Stigmatized, okay. Anyone else?
Ignoring the inconsistency. I think that's probably one of my biggest issues, just the inconsistency. Like, damn, she bad the motherfucker, so I expect her to be busy or inconsistent, and then didn't realize that, until I had a string of equally attractive women who were consistent. It was just about, their investment in me, and not necessarily what they had going on.
Okay.
Yeah. I think this happens to a lot of us when we're younger. We learn because sometimes the attraction is strong. And once that attraction is that deep, then sometimes it'll override or have you bypass a whole lot of bullshit that you'll notice off rip, and you just let it slide. You're like, nah, it ain't that. Nah. It might be a bad day for him. And it just, you could easily watch it snowball into something greater, where it's just, you realize that little tick they have is something that's part of their core being, right? And that one thing that you really are attracted to and you feel like you need now, it's got you taking a whole lot of bullshit with it. And until it blows up in your face, sometimes we just have to learn the hard way.
If someone shows you who they are 3 times, why do people still wait for the 4th time?
Because people, I don't want to go ahead. You can go ahead.
I guess I just like, with the question of like, have you ever dated pattern versus potential? Are you like implying that, or I'm sorry, is the implication when we answer this question that you've watched somebody before, or that you've asked them these certain questions and you've ignored, I guess, what they told you? Because I'm wondering, like, would that be what you observed, what you know, or what they said? And oftentimes where the masking comes into play is that if I'm just meeting somebody and I don't know them and they're telling me a thing, if somebody has ill intentions, they're not really going to be honest about the fact that they were terrible people. They're probably going to lie. So like, I just want to know what part in it we see the pattern, or is it what they say?
I need clarification too. Well, not necessarily clarification. How many times are we saying we see the behavior before we call it a pattern? You understand what I'm saying? Because if somebody
leave, no disrespect.
Okay, no, well, I'm talking about us defining what that is, because I can see something in for me, it depends on different stages and ages of life as well, depending on what you see, because at one stage of life, you may see something. I'm just speaking from like my own experience in terms of when I met my husband, before he was my husband, I was 18, and I'm looking at life and things, and my experience is totally different versus now being married 23 years, right? So stuff that I would say mistakes or learning experiences that happened at that time could technically be considered pattern, but now 24 years later, that's no longer the history. You understand what I'm saying? So that's where I'm trying to get the definition of at what point do you determine what the pattern is versus the person, because I think that changes based on age. And
No, go ahead.
can I just give an example just to make it clear, because somebody just said, what do you mean? So at well, I'll say, how old was he at the time? I was 18. So he had to be around 22, right? So at that age, in terms of his irresponsibility with money, right, was very different, and there was a pattern. If I judged him on that, then we wouldn't have gotten to the place where now, at the age that we're at and how long we've been married, that's no longer the same pattern. Does that make sense in terms of when I'm saying age and stage?
Okay.
Where we're
So
making the
did y'all get
judgment.
the did y'all hear that question? What it was?
I
It was
did.
pretty much asked. You did? All right. So it's
Yeah.
basically if
Mm.
someone shows you who they are 3 times, why do people still wait for the 4th time? Like, how many times are you going to give people a chance over and over because of faith or because of the mustard seed, whatever? Why are we waiting until the 4th?
I think that people wait because at the end of the day, people just want love. And sometimes people deal with a lot of bullshit to feel affection and to feel one. I don't think it's a really complicated answer. I think human affection is one of the weaknesses that most people fall for. You know, they might be smart with their money. They could be smart with a lot of things. They could be very well-to-do people. But when it comes to the matters of the heart, you know what I'm saying? It's always going to be a soft spot, especially people who are naturally forgiving, naturally loving. Some people just really want a relationship that bad at their own detriment. So that's my response. Just people just really want love love is blind,
In my opinion, I think it comes down to emotions versus logic,
Mhm.
and it comes down to how much do you really know? How much awareness do you even have, including over yourself? Because when you're willing to accept certain things to happen to you, you really got to ask yourself, how much do you actually love yourself? You can think that you love yourself, but it all comes down to the actions of what you let yourself go through. What's your discipline level? What's your boundaries? What is your absolutes? And when you let people overstep that, then now you know that you have a vulnerable area. You got a weak spot. You know that there's a flaw there that needs to be attended to, whether it came from your childhood or certain things you let accept or been a part of, whether it's your friends or some pain. So you never really know 100%, but there's always something there where it's like you really don't know yourself like you think you do, because I feel like certain people will let you get out of character with yourself, but then you got to ask yourself why. So I think it's personal. I think comfortability breeds contentment.
I think when it comes down to risk assessment, I think a lot of people can understand how to live their life through making decisions about careers, where to live, what to eat, where not to travel, and monitor things based on a perspective of safety. But something about connecting romantically, um, I won't say it weakens people. I think people inherently want to believe in the best of others. And then through maybe limited experiences, they don't really have set standards. I think most people slide their standards, and it's conditional based on who they're dealing with. And then that breeds even into the fact on what were they introduced to. If you've never been valued or treated by the people who maybe have your last name or took care of you, it's very hard, in my opinion, to arrive at adulthood and know where that looks like out in the real world. And I think that that's more people's experience than not. So any level of good feeling or some level of notoriety, validation that they get, it illuminates their world because they're operating from a place of deficit and not abundance. That's what I've seen, and that's both male and female. It breaks my heart. There's so many men walking through the earth right now that don't know what it is to be actually respected and treated good. But that's what I see.
Um, I don't know. It's hard to answer that because I think it has a lot to do with just the love you have for that person. But I also feel like it's the season that you're in. I feel like it's a lot of things that I feel like when you get older or you have kids or you divorce, like things like that, I feel like um it's just a lot of things that you shouldn't let slide, if that makes sense. Um, but I have like let things slide almost 10 times thinking that the man would change and this and that. But I really feel like it's really not the potential you see in that person. I just think it's just the love that you have for that person. Um, I guess the little things goes a long way. But the bigger picture sometimes like it can be, say for instance, the guy just I ain't gonna bring it up. I was gonna say 50-50, but I ain't finna bring that shit up. Let me be quiet. But just go on to somebody else because I ain't finna get nobody started. So okay.
That's cool. I had another question. What do you think hurts more, being cheated on or being lied to for months?